tifu by thinking it was normal to shower with socks on, by user diclofenac sodium. Happened a month ago. Growing up we never really went on vacation or stayed anywhere overnight other than in our own home aside from the occasional camping trip. And I was always taught from a young age that when I took a shower I had to put on my shower socks, which were basically those grippy socks that the hospital gave you. We had hooks on the wall to hang the socks on so they could dry off. Well, when I moved into my college dorm for the first time last month and went to take a shower, I asked my roommate where the sock hooks were. He looked at me confused, so I explained the hooks for putting your shower socks on so they can dry off. He didn't believe me for some reason, so I showed him my shower socks and he nearly died laughing. Apparently for the past 20 years of my life it was not normal to wear socks in the shower. TLDR, apparently socks in the shower is not a thing. Edit, oh nuts, what have I done? Edit 2, answering some questions. To wash my feet I always just took the shower handle thing and blasted my feet with the water. I have not confronted my parents about this yet. Also no, I haven't noticed people taking showers in movies not wearing socks. I can't remember any scenes from any movie I've seen where someone was in a shower. I just don't watch a lot of movies or shows though. TBH. TIFU by making a bet with my 8yo daughter, by user Borgerin. My kid is Minecraft mad and has been since she was 5 years old. She's a great builder and comes up with really interesting creations. But she's stuck on consoles and her iPad and has been making noises about wanting mods for the past 18 months. I keep telling her Bedrock doesn't do mods and she always replies with, well, buy me a computer. Well, 2 weeks ago we were talking about her gym class she goes to where they do fun physical fitness stuff for kids. It's at a real gym with real gym instructors. She said they did a plank for 30 seconds as part of her class. And I, stupidly, said if you can beat my plank time ID buy her a computer. Now my time is 2.25. And my wife's is around 3.15. So the gym instructor asked all the kids what their goals are this year. Just a general life thing not related specifically to physical fitness. Some said stuff like read more or finish X game, etc. My kid says to do a 4-minute plank. Well, the instructor suddenly had something he could work with. So he said, okay, let's do that. In my kid's bravado she had forgotten the original bet was 2.26 or better. In doing so she overshot it by a fair way and made it considerably harder for herself. By the end she was a sweaty crying mess, her form had gone to hell but it was definitely still a plank. The instructor yelled 4 minutes and she said, can I stop now, between tears and heavy breathing. She stopped at 4.08. Anyway, what's a good mid-level graphics card for Minecraft with some shaders? TLDR made a stupid bet with my kid about buying her a PC if she beat my plank time. I lost and am now poor. Edit, thanks for all the replies, generous offers of parts and build specs. Wow, this blew up while I was asleep on Australia time. She woke up this morning and I said, are you sore from yesterday? And she says no, why? Well, now I'm really annoyed. Promise I'll post an update. TIFU when I fell in love with my wife, by user Hug the Husband. Random throwaway account. Last year my best friend, 28F, and I, 29M, got married. Not due to love, but because we made a pact at the beginning of our 20s, that if we approached the age of 30, and neither of us had found the love of our lives, that we would marry each other. It felt like a joke at the time because the two of us were 100% convinced we would have our soulmates by now. Like everyone else in our social circle. Watching all of our friends getting married and have kids eventually made us go so about that pact. Cue the wedding. It was surprisingly easy to sell our random relationship to the people in our lives because most of them assumed we were dating anyway. I mean, how could a single guy and a single girl just be good friends? It's unthinkable. The first few months of married life were awkward but fun. Awkward in a sense that we were still figuring out the rules of our relationship, especially in regards to sex. Are we fucking? Are we not fucking? And if we are, do we ever call it making love? Is love even allowed? And so it went on and on. But like I said, it was fun. We enjoyed the process. Even the failures. Such as intimacy. The sex didn't work for her. She struggled to unsee me as her longtime friend whenever we attempted to sleep together. Like, she would literally cover her face during sex because of how awkward it was for her to look at me while I'm inside of her. Not gonna lie, it stung a bit. But we were still able to laugh it off. We agreed to stop having sex with each other and decided it was best to sleep with other people. Fast forward to 2022. Valentine's Day is approaching. My first Valentine's Day as a married man. A married man who's come to realize he has fallen deeply in love with his best friend / now wife. A wife who had sex with 37 people in the first year of our marriage. 2 of those people are mutual friends. 5 of them are regular hookups. One of those regulars still needs to return my Ghost of Tsushima video game, which he borrowed after sleeping with my wife on my fucking birthday. I've had sex with one other person since our marriage. One time only. Sleeping with random people is not really for me, wife or no wife, especially not when I have feelings for someone specific. I'm not comparing body counts to shame my wife. She's done nothing we didn't agree to beforehand. That being said, I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. I can tell by the way my wife looks at me that I'm not her Romeo. I'm the close friend she can share the details of her sex life with, among other things. If I decide to express my feelings now, I feel like nothing good will happen. So, on Valentine's Day, I'll play my part and get my wife a cute card and some flowers before I leave her to be with guy number 38. She showed me his Instagram. He's a surfer with a fucking shark bite scar on his body. I hope that scar still hurts. Sorry I'm being mean. Anyway, that's the end. If anyone ends up reading this post and leaves a comment, please help me laugh about this. I'm good at laughing whenever I'm unhappy, but I'm gonna need some help with this one. TLDR married my best friend based on a pact. Fell in love with her. Doubt she feels the same. Now I'm stuck as the side character in my wife's diary of a young woman. Tifu by falling in love with my husband, by user Wordear33. Obligatory. This didn't happen today. Reading that falling in love with my wife Tifu today reminded me of a similar situation I experienced in my early 20s. Me, 21M, and my best friend's bro, 25M, were roommates in an expensive Southern California state. At the time I was still doing my undergrad and my buddy was a full-time engineer. He was extremely bright and sociable, so he ended causing some engineering firms to fight over him and getting paid extremely well as an entry-level engineer at an aerospace firm. As young as he was, he cared about his finances a lot. We used to have at-length conversations about how taxes were killing him in California and he would be balling harder if he was married or something. He asked me to see if one of my sisters would marry him to help reduce the tax numbers and he'd be willing to pay her $1,500 a month. I took this opportunity to jokingly say, "Marry me, I'd happily take $1K. Gay marriage was legal in California and I wouldn't mind." After contemplating for a few days, he came back to me and said he'd do it and pay the rent, so off we went. We got fancy clothes, went and took wedding photos, we went to a courthouse, brought my best friend and another buddy as witnesses and bam! We were married. I ended with $1K/month and rent-free, he got a huge tax reduction, win-win for involved parties. During this whole marriage, about 3 to 4 years, we got to know each other at a deeper level, if it was paranoia or what, but we had to know each other. He was extremely smart, both anime nerds, PC enthusiasts, great gamers, and former engineering students. We had so much in common. And he was cute. Unbeknownst to him, I was bi and fell in love with him. The thing is, he was straight and telling him would be really awkward and may even destroy our friendship and mutual agreement. So I just kept it going for as long as I could and drowned my sorrow in liquor, weed, and indie games. My husband found a woman he loved during our marriage, she was cool as hell. They eventually reached the point of deciding marriage was what they'd do. So me and my buddy got divorced. Heart shattered. Of course I was happy for them but sad for myself, so I went down a spiral but caught myself and got therapy. It helped tremendously with reorganizing my feelings and finding out I fell in love with the thought of my friend. I'm now happily married to a woman who was a good friend during college and we're all good friends. TLDR, married a friend for tax purposes, fell in love with him but he's straight. Ended up depressed but eventually got therapy. Edit. Lots of people saying this is fiction in my DMs can check my post history LMAO. For those saying it would make a great plot for a movie I've been informed of Brokeback Mountain. TIFU by finding my boss's porn, by user Drake. This happened about 6 years ago during a games conference event. My boss and I were in a satellite farm in London where we took the raw video feeds from the conference and used our encoders to stream the event live to IGN, GameSpot, etc. The event ran on long into the evening but everything went perfectly. Once it was finished, my boss, MD of the company, asked me to copy the archive file to an external HDD he'd brought with him. I said okay sure, and plugged the drive in while he went to the toilet. I dragged/dropped the archive file onto the drive, but a dialog box popped up with an error saying source drive full or something. I clicked through to see if there was something easy for me to delete, and to my great dismay the whole 1 TB drive is jam-packed full of porn vids. Stuff with names like XXX horny teen lesbians etc. I sat there in silence thinking I have to somehow tell my boss I can't copy the file to his porn drive cause it's too full of porn. So at the last minute I decide to feign ignorance and give him a plausible chance to save face. I close down the window and leave the room just as he comes back. He asks if I've copied the file and I say, no sorry, the disk is full. I'm going to see if I can find another disk to use. As I'm walking down the corridor I just hear him shout at the top of his lungs, "Aw fuck. That's my porn." He then calls me back in and tells me it's for when he goes away on conferences and that he gets lonely, and I was very much TMIM8. Long story short, I deleted his porn and copied the file. TL, DR, found my boss's porn on a work drive.